What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including CM Punk is in talks for an in-ring return. I'm not joking here. NXT is furious with the treatment of Karrion Kross, an update as to where Bray Wyatt is, the Undertaker backstage at Raw, WWE removes title wins from Charlotte's record, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. That first story looks at CM Punk in talks for an in-ring return. Now okay. Alright, sit down, just relax. Alright. We're going to put this as top news, and the reason we're putting this as top news is because, well, let's face it, it's CM Punk. Any news regarding his in-ring return should be at the top. Let's face it, he's one of the biggest free agents in the world right now, whether you like him or not. Fightful selectors learned last week that CM Punk has been in talks to make a return to pro wrestling as an in-ring performer, with sources indicating that AEW is most likely his landing point. According to Fightful Select, they have no confirmation of a contract officially being signed, a timetable, a set return date, or any creative plans, only that Punk and the company official have had ongoing conversations about an in-ring return. Now, Punk was last seen in a ring in 2014. Well, that is if you believe those rumors that it was him under the mask. But that was his official last match. Seriously, don't care who you are, CM Punk is still relevant in wrestling. His return would be absolutely massive. And if AEW does get him, they'll be the talking point of 2021. What do you guys think? Do you think CM Punk is going to return to the ring? Let us know in the comments down below. Jeez, just imagine if him and Daniel Bryan both head to AEW. NXT furious over Kross's loss. That story deals with the continued backlash over NXT champion Karrion Kross's debut on the 19th July Raw and his shocking loss to Jeff Hardy. Kross, who's been booked as a monster heel on the Black and Gold brand, including 2 reigns as NXT champion, made his long-awaited debut on the Red brand, only to lose to Jeff Hardy, a multiple-time world champion, in just less than 2 minutes. Now, the problem with this is that even though Hardy is such an established superstar and a future Hall of Famer, he's lost so many matches since re-upping with the WWE. Now, Fightful Select is reporting that several NXT talent and staff spoke with Fightful about their shock and frustration around the NXT champion losing to Jeff Hardy. One talent told Fightful that it felt like a message was being sent, though they didn't elaborate on what they thought that the message was. There was significant frustration from those we spoke to about how Finn Balor, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, Santos Escobar, Oni Lorcan, and others had to work hard to help make Kross as dominant as possible. The general mood of those that we spoke to was a not mad, disappointed vibe, as they felt this represented how the NXT brand was viewed by higher-ups as a whole. It should go without saying that number one, NXT wrestlers and staff are likely reluctant to make any overtly critical comments or risk incurring the wrath of Mr. McMahon. And number two, the message being sent is that it doesn't matter what an NXT superstar accomplishes because they begin with a clean slate when they hit the main roster. The Fightful report also noted that Kross appeared to be in good spirits backstage after the match, though one talent present did note that Kross was put in an unfavorable position considering his spot as a protected talent on one brand and a new talent on the other. Now, we've repeatedly discussed the WWE's many failures at promoting NXT stars on the main roster, and it's a pattern that NXT fans are well familiar with. It's important to note that Kross's loss could also be a case of Vince McMahon testing the NXT champion by having him lose his main roster debut. McMahon may have huge plans in store for Kross, but he wants to see if he has the right attitude, i.e. doing whatever he's told. McMahon has done this numerous times in his many decades running the WWE, and while having Kross lose his debut match may seem like complete nonsense, it's another reminder that Vince McMahon does whatever he feels like doing since the WWE is his company. Based on Kross's current storyline on NXT, which recently saw him lay out General Manager William Regal, it looks like his run on the Black and Gold brand may be over soon, which means fans should expect to see Kross on Raw on a regular basis before long. One scenario to suggest is that Kross will continue to be portrayed as an out-of-control wrestler who does whatever he likes. Although he lost to Jeff Hardy, it's important to note that Hardy cheated during the match and Kross vowed revenge. If Kross takes Hardy out and begins a reign of terror on Raw, there should be no doubt as to how he's portrayed. If he starts losing to Humberto Carrillo, then NXT fears of the WWE treating it like a non-entity will be confirmed. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, a Bray Wyatt update. It looks like the reports of Bray Wyatt's August return have been greatly exaggerated, at least according to sources including PW Insider. You may recall previous reports of Wyatt being advertised to appear at WWE events in August. Wrestling News' Andrew Ravens noted, when WWE first announced a few months ago that they would be returning to live event touring, Wyatt was advertised for Raw shows in August, such as the August 9th episode from the Amway Center in Orlando. However, PW Insider report indicated that there's no set timetable for Wyatt's return and that he's being kept off television for a reason unknown, a reason PW Insider reports is not a creative issue. Nevertheless, fans should utilize a wait-and-see attitude, as this could be a smokescreen by the WWE to hide his actual return. While the reason or reasons for Wyatt's absence remains unknown, the WWE Universe misses the Fiend, and Wyatt even took to social media recently to let them know he misses them too. Next up, WWE removes title wins from Charlotte's record. Now here's a trivia question for you guys. How many women's singles championships does Charlotte Flair have in the WWE? The answer would seem to be 13 when you consider Flair's 2 NXT Women's Championships, 5 SmackDown Women's Championships, 5 Raw Women's Championships, and 1 Divas Championship. However, Flair recently referred to herself as an 11-time World Champion on Raw, with no mention of her 2 NXT Championships, something which has wrestling pundits such as Sportskeeda postulating that this presumably means NXT title reigns no longer count in the World Championship record tallies. Is this another slight towards NXT? Well, that's possible, but keep in mind that NXT championships have never counted as world championships for the WWE's male superstars, and with Charlotte, some fans believe it was only mentioned in the past in order to pad the Queen's resume. Next up, WWE flips the switch on a babyface turn. Looks like former Raw Women's Champion Rhea Ripley is now a babyface. PW Insider recently reported that Ripley is officially a babyface according to internal WWE reports. Fans may be puzzled by this, as the WWE hasn't made it clear whether Ripley was a babyface or a heel. In fact, the nightmare seemed more like a tweener, despite the fact that they rarely book wrestlers this way. Remember the days when a wrestler turning babyface typically involves some sort of angle? Well, apparently they've forgotten this, as it turns wrestlers without any kind of indication on camera. You'll likely recall Braun Strowman's numerous turns during his career that fans didn't even know about it until it was reported that WWE had made the decision backstage. Hopefully Rhea Ripley won't end up becoming the female version of Strowman or the Big Show when it comes to frequent and nonsensical turns. She deserves far better than that. But speaking of babyface turns, Wrestling News is reporting that Toni Storm is going to work as a babyface when she jumps to SmackDown. The former NXT UK Women's Champion has been working on NXT as a heel, but Vince McMahon reportedly sees a lot of potential in her and will promote her as a babyface. Next up, Keith Lee back in business. Keith Lee's return to Raw was a much welcome one for his fans, but was it a one-time appearance to put over champion Bobby Lashley or a proper return to the Red brand? PW Insider reports that the Limitless One was kept off television for an unknown reason, but that it's apparently had nothing to do with WWE creative. The site reports that he's now cleared to return to the Squared Circle on a regular basis. Lee's 2020 promotion onto Raw saw him thrown into the main event program against Randy Orton, including major wins over the Legend Killer. However, his star began to fall over the next few months and Lee disappeared right before the 2021 Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. It should be interesting to see if Lee receives a push now that he's back in action. Next up, a scary wrestler injury. NXT superstar Xia Li appeared to suffer an injury during a title match against NXT Women's Champion Raquel Gonzalez. Ringside News detailed what happened at the end of the match. Xia Li seemingly got injured after a scary spot that saw Gonzalez hit a corner slingshot sent on splash on Lee. However, Lee wasn't able to bring her hands up in time and Lee couldn't get up, after which medical staff surrounded her. The match quickly ended and the referee threw up the X sign. Thankfully, it appears Lee is doing okay, as Fightful Select Sean Ross Sapp is reporting, "For those asking about Xia Li, we were told she appeared okay backstage after NXT." And finally, The Undertaker spotted backstage. The WWE's return to Texas saw another return backstage during the 19th July episode of Raw, that of The Undertaker and his wife Michelle McCool along with their daughter. A report from PW Insider confirmed The Undertaker was indeed backstage at last night's edition of Monday Night Raw. There's no reports of Taker being there for any other reasons than to see some old friends and see the return of live fans. But there you have it guys, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.